Okay. So let's talk about the guards. So we wanted to run through just a discussion of where the guard class essentially stands in this 2022 NBA draft, because it feels a little bit down to me, to be honest. Right now, I have guys that would be genuinely considered guards. I have 3 in the top 10, and I have 4 in the lottery period. Those names include Jaden Ivey, Johnny Davis, Ty Washington, and Dyson Daniels. I guess you could throw in Ben Mathurin. I guess you could throw in, um, you know, some of the other guards, like if you want to toss Blake Wesley into that mix. But I don't necessarily call those guys other than Wesley guards. Like I think that Ben Mathurin's a wing. I think that someone like Kendall Brown is a wing. So definitionally, there are some different things that could be discussed, but we want to talk about the best guards today. And it does in general feel like this guard class in the 2022 NBA draft is down. Would you agree, Penny?
A little bit down, but I will say that I've been enthused anyway by a little bit more in the two guys. We'll go into depth here, I think, in Jaden Ivey and Johnny Davis. I didn't think those guys were going to be what they are right now and what they could be in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. So I'm trying to take a positive spin on. I went in probably even lower on guards, and those are two that have popped up that I think are really good options for teams in the lottery that need a little bit of jolt of energy like you in their lineup.
Yeah, definitely like me. It's interesting to me when I talk to people about Johnny Davis, and let's start with Johnny Davis, right? Everyone is so excited about the rise. Everyone is so excited about the jump that he has made in order to become a genuine lottery prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get any sort of resistance from people that are just going like, man, like we really like Johnny Davis. We'd love to take him at number 10, but man, if you're taking that guy in the top 5, I don't know if that's like the right, if that's a top 5 quality player, I guess. Cause I continue to get a little bit of that pushback, I would say.
A little bit. I've talked to some scouts that are higher than others that would be happy taking the top 5. Others, yeah, in a traditional draft, if I was taking that guy 10th, I'd be doing backflips. But you kind of play the hand that you're dealt. These are the prospects that are in this current draft class. We have to evaluate it as such. I'm not saying these two guys are Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball, but there was a kind of similar feeling like during that draft. Like, who's number 1? These guys should be like 6 or 7. What tier prospect is LaMelo even going to be? They've both panned out. They've both been okay. So as I've kind of adjusted my own eyes and expectations after a loaded draft at the top last year, this just looks and feels a little bit different. But I like both of those guys in legitimate cases to be top 3 picks. I think I'm higher on Johnny Davis than most. And I believe he's going to be productive in the NBA in short time too.
So let's just kind of dive into that. Why are you as high as you are on Johnny Davis at this point?
So for me and for my money anyway, he's Mr. Everything on a 17-3 team. He leads his team in points, in rebounds, in assists, and steals, and he carries this offensive load every single night. He's averaging 21 points and 8 rebounds a game. He's shooting 44% from the field, 35 from 3. Not eye-popping numbers, but he scores all over the floor. He posts. He takes it off the dribble. He knows how to use his body to create space without really playing bully ball. He's not just a bulldozer running over guys. He can hit, readjust, get his balance, then get a shot off. He can pull up out of pick and roll. He can shoot from 3. He works on the boards. And he has this killer instinct and killer mentality. Even when he hasn't shot the ball well, at the end of the game, he wants to make a big play. He doesn't shy away from the limelight. That Minnesota game last week, the shot wasn't really falling. That's fine. So he readjusted. He had 15 rebounds, and he did his damage in the paint. And by the way, the last 3 possessions of the game, he either got to the foul line or scored each of those. So he's still not shying away from being the guy that, oh, I have 3 field goals. What am I going to do? Go get some rebounds, get the free throw line. Great. And then the other part is, how good is he going to be when he has a true point guard that's averaging 5 assists per game, whose job is specifically to make his job easier? The numbers and the percentages are going to improve as the usage goes down when he's not the focal point of every scouting report. When he's the second or third option, with other guys next to him who are pro scoring threats every single play, I still think he's going to improve even more than what we're seeing right now.
So I'm glad that you brought up the idea of his versatility as a scorer, because I think that that's the number one thing that stands out to me. Like, I feel pretty good about him being able to get his shot on all three levels out of a variety of situations, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the idea of posting. I don't know how much like a 6'4" guard is going to post at the NBA level, but it's in his bag. Like, if he ends
Exactly.
up
He's got
getting
it.
a mismatch on a 6'1" guard, right, and can shoot
Yeah.
over the top. He drives well to the rim and plays through contact well. He plays on balance really well, I think, as well. That's kind of like his. It's not his superpower necessarily, but like it's his underrated skill, I think. His ability to constantly play on balance and constantly be a threat whenever he has the ball from any singular spot on the court. Like, at any point where he is dribbling, you have to be cognizant and careful that you're not about to just get stopped on a dime and pulled up on, because his just body is constantly in just shape in terms of being able to stop, pull up, shoot, right?
Mhm.
From the mid-range level, from the 3-point line. I've seen some people question the 3-point shooting, right? He's shooting 36% from three this year. I think the mechanics look pretty good, to be honest.
Mhm.
Like, I think that there's nothing broken with the shot. I think it's going to be fine. He takes a bunch of shots off of pull-ups. I can pull up those numbers while you're talking next. He's a very effective player. Like, that, there isn't really a hole for me in his scoring game on the offensive end. Now, like, do I think he could be a better distributor and passer? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's not his role. Like, it's not what Wisconsin asks him to do all that often. And I generally do think that over the course of, like, from the non-conference season to the Big Ten season, he's gotten a decent amount better at it. Like, he's had games with 5 assists, 4 assists. Like, the Iowa game, if I remember correctly, looking through the box score here, where he had like 26, 9, and 5.
Yep.
Like, I thought that was a really impressive passing game from him, even though he was counted upon to be a scoring threat. So I really like the complete nature of Johnny Davis's offensive game. The question that I would toss back to you is, at the college level, I feel like his ability to stop at any point and get a pull-up jumper is just an incredible weapon. In the NBA, do you worry at all about him getting separation from bigger wing defenders, and thus, like, seeing those efficiency numbers kind of drop a little bit as he matriculates through his career? Because he's not like some crazy athlete. He's not like a crazy ball handler. He's a
Mhm.
good ball handler. He's not like an insane one, though. I think that that's where people struggle in their eye when they watch Johnny Davis, is like, there's no, like, he's not an elite athlete like Jaden Ivey, for instance. He doesn't handle the ball like, I don't know, fucking Kyrie Irving, right?
No, he doesn't do that.
Yeah, like nobody does. But even so, like, he's probably average to above average ball handler, not a great ball handler. So how do you feel about his ability to gain consistent separation from opposing NBA defenders?
He'll be able to do it. And some of that plays into the offense that Wisconsin runs right now. You're right. He's not always going to post up and score off these little like swing flex screens and go one-on-one, but he has it. And I think part of that is like he doesn't always have to create separation and do these step back jumpers unless the shot clock is winding down. All this stuff to me just speaks to his incredibly high floor as a basketball player. There is not like a ton of pop, but it's very no frills. Like, you know what you're getting. He's going to
Yep.
produce every single night. It may not be these like crazy wild highlights, but then you look at the box score and he has 25, 6, and 5. Or and I didn't think he played that well. He had 16 points and 15 rebounds. And then
Yep.
the defense too, which we haven't even talked about, I think's another weapon, because he's really good off the ball. He has really good instincts. He can play fast in transition. He can pull it out and play slow. He doesn't care if he's the one who's like the focal hub offensively. He has to be that right now. But
Yep.
on the circuit and in other places, he didn't necessarily have that role. He's just risen to the occasion. So similar with Ivy, these guys are really just like good pieces of wherever they land. I'm not worried about a situational fit for him because of
Yep.
how he's able to adapt. And if you need me to be the guy that drives and kicks, I'll do that. You need me to be the guy that scores off the dribble? Sure. You want to play really fast and have me run the wing wide and hit inside and then kick back out? I can do that too. It's all these like toolsy, do it all type things where it's just going to work wherever he's drafted. And I think that's why I have a harder time than most slotting him versus Jaden Ivey. I'd say Ivey has a higher ceiling for sure.
Yeah.
But Johnny Davis's floor is really high too.
So I agree with you that his floor is really high. I think that like one thing I've generally struggled with Johnny Davis is finding an analog for him, right? Like what player in the last decade that has been drafted in the top 10 has been similar to Johnny Davis in some regard? And I can't really find the guy. That's not to say that like it's a bad thing necessarily. It's just hard to find the player that like totally fits because like, you know, in 2012, Terrence Ross was different than he is, right? Like Brandon Knight from Kentucky was more of a point guard, right? You know, if we're going like elite level college producers, Jimmer Fredette was just not that, like he's just not that, right? CJ McCollum, like maybe that's the analog, is something like that, but even CJ is smaller. So I can't find the guy that he's like, I guess. Like it's definitely not Dion Waiters.
44-ish and 35. I have a name. He's not as freaky athletically, and we saw way more in the NBA. Is there shades or parts of a college version of Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, no, I think that I think like the two
and
names,
look, like Donovan's like NBA dunk contest, freak show, 2-foot explosive athlete. Johnny Davis never has that, but like the pull up stuff, the played within himself at Louisville, did more than people kind of thought once he got to the NBA. Not the same, like you said, analog, archetype, etc., but sort of that mold maybe.
Yeah,
as a college producer, don't go crazy. I'm saying like from college, comparatively speaking.
The two names that I could think of that fit outside of CJ McCollum, who I think is like a reasonable response given like the
more of a score in college though, I'd say probably, right?
Like
even higher
given
usage,
like
I don't have the numbers, but given he's at Lehigh or whatever.
Yeah, like given like the multi-layered nature of his scoring game, right? The two names I was able to come up with were Bradley Beal was one of them. Just in terms of being able to shoot at a high level, but like wasn't just a 3-point shooter in college.
And
like you
and
go
actually
back and like you watch that.
And I don't have the stats right here. You might have it pulled up. He was like a shooter that couldn't shoot in college. He shot like 35% from three or something like that.
Yeah.
Like had a reputation as a shooter out of high school, went to Florida, did everything else well. The jumper wasn't there and didn't really like turn on until he made it to the NBA.
Yeah, like, but again, like it's not like he's D'Angelo Russell who was throwing these like crazy ass passes.
Yeah, pick and roll,
right?
live dribble, crazy whips. Yeah.
Yeah, like Jamal Murray played as a 2 guard at Kentucky next to Tyler Ulis, but like we all thought he was a point guard. Yeah, and like he could knock down threes and was like an elite level shooter. So I guess I say all this to say that I think that's part of the struggle that people have with Johnny Davis, and we can transition now into Jaden Ivey. People have no problem seeing what Jaden Ivey is going to be because he's like the natural ideal in many ways of what we would like to see in a lead guard prospect. He's an elite level athlete. He's an incredible transition player. He's shown live dribble passing ability. He's shown pull up shooting ability. Like the vision is there with Jaden Ivey in a way that like it isn't as readily apparent as it is with Johnny Davis, I guess.
Yeah, and people want to say the John Morant thing. There's times I say like maybe that's a John Morant type move. For Jaden Ivey at 6'4", it's the energy level that stands out to me right away. And the Ohio State game, you could tell immediately that the energy level wasn't there to start. He's got a hip thing. He came off the bench. He didn't look the same. He's going through the motions. Still had 21 points. Hit the game winner. Like the play broke down. He came off a screen and hit a one-footed kind of fadeaway to get the win. it has to be extremely difficult and frustrating as a defender to try to keep him in front when he has that quick first step, that kind of has that herky-jerky stop and start to his game, and then he kills you in transition as a ball handler or running the lane wide, again, similar to Davis as a threat. Shoots 44% from three, mostly with his feet set, improving, I'd say, as a movement shooter and pull-up shooter off the dribble. I'd argue that he hasn't truly gotten the reps as a pull-up shooter this year either. I think it was under 40 before this last game. He's only had 50 pick-and-roll possessions this year comparatively to Johnny Davis, who's at 88. So when he's playing a more offense, and I talked about this with Jordan Sperber on his pod, when he's playing more of an offense that's like suited toward him, and it's not run through 7'4" Zach Edey or 6'10" 5-man Travion Williams, who are both very good and produced awesome, but you're running through them. You're running through the middle. What's it going to look like when he has open court attacking wing angles as opposed to guys who are just standing on the block? Like, I don't even think we've seen the fully actualized Jaden Ivey and what he can be when all that stuff clicks, even just the geometry of the court clicking to his advantage.
No, I think that's 100% right. I pulled up the pull-up numbers for Jaden Ivey this year. It's a lot of pull-up 3 attempts, but he's shooting 29.3% on those attempts.
Yep.
Which is not good enough at the end of the day. You look at the catch and shoot numbers, they're outstanding. He's shooting 43.3% on catch and shoots, and almost all of those are threes. So you look up, he has like a 65 effective field goal percentage on catch and shoot 3 opportunities, and you can see him scaling pretty easily to playing next to another great ball handler. Be that like a big wing, like a Paul George or something like that, be it, Joel Embiid, who's like initiating from the high post, or Nikola Jokic, who's initiating from all over the court. Like, I think that it's easier to imagine what that skill set looks like. You look at the rim numbers for him, they are pretty poor in the half court because there's just never any driving lane, and there's never any space where he's not getting Trevion Williams or Zach Edey's center defender rotating over on him as he goes up to try to finish. Like, he's only made 50.9%, according to Synergy, of his attempts at the rim in the half court this season. That's not an incredible number, and I would expect that to rise over the course of his NBA career, just as he gets into a different circumstance. The thing that I like, though, about Jaden Ivey is that 27% of his possessions come in transition. And it's not like Christian Brown, who is kind of like my whipping boy for this year, and I feel a little bit bad about it. But a lot of Christian Brown's points come in transition when he's not really the one driving that transition play. He's just filling the lanes and finishing. You watch Purdue, Jaden Ivey is driving those transition opportunities.
Yeah, whatever cliche you want to use, driving the bus, pushing the pace, pushing the tempo. It's always him taking off.
Right. And he's legitimately creating transition opportunities that are higher efficiency for his team out of nothing, basically. So I think that that's like an exceptionally translatable skill to the NBA, where he's going to be able to grab and go on the glass. He's going to be able to catch an outlet pass, and he's going to zoom, and he's going to create easy opportunities for his teammates. There's some half court stuff that I worry about, though. Like, you mentioned the idea that he doesn't take a ton of pick and roll opportunities.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Not presented with them even, really.
Right. Like, it's just not something he's asked to do all that often within their offense. I think that that's probably going to result in some growing pains early, as he just like kind of works his way through the reads and has to figure out how to, go through his, progressions in ball screens. Like, reading that help defender, I think, is going to be a skill that he learns over 3 years in the NBA. Not necessarily one. He's going to throw some spectacular passes in the meantime for those first couple years. And people are going to be like, oh yeah, like, this guy is who we thought he was. It's just flashes right now, as opposed to, full scale every moment we're seeing it. And he's a star. But I think that once he gets acclimated to the NBA and gets a bit more reps under his belt in the role that he will play in the NBA, he'll be fine. Like, the Purdue offense is just so drastically different than what he will be asked to do that in some respect, it's a bit difficult to really, conceptualize outside of the transition stuff, what he'll look like in the half court.
And even some of the fouls he's getting now with the offensive foul stuff. he's getting better at jump stops. You're not going to have Brad Davidson sliding up and getting charges as you drive. Might get blocked at the rim, sure, but he's not going to get as many of those guys stepping up, rotating outside the lane to take a charge. So I think that'll kind of improve his finishing numbers too. The pick and roll progressions and making the right reads. I mean, you argued, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago that maybe he is a lead guard. So that's going to have to come and that's going to have to be part of his development, and maybe a little bit of a hang up for a while. Are you worried?
I'll say this, like if he's not a lead guard, I'm much less interested in him as a player. I think he is a lead guard. I think he's shown enough flashes in terms of passing and ball handling, and obviously has the elite level athleticism to do it. But I think that like that's where the Johnny Davis case comes in for me, is like, if you think Jaden Ivey is not a lead guard, there is a case for Johnny Davis being a more interesting prospect because of his, ability in the half court to create shots from a ton of different angles and, just opportunities.
And defensively too. Jaden Ivey on the ball is a very good defender. Not great off the ball right now. He's
yeah.
Oh, what we're hitting a point, or you think he's not good on the ball?
I think that he's good. Are you
selling yourself on Johnny Davis? That's where I think like we're leading you down.
I'm not, because I think that Jaden is a point guard. Having said that,
wait, hold on.
It's hard to evaluate.
He's a point guard, but can't read pick and rolls, and we don't know how often he's going to have the ball.
Right. I think that it's going to take him some time to get through pick and roll progressions, but has all the skills to be great at it.
Yeah,
like has all of the tools that you need in order to be great at it. Like he has tools that Johnny Davis doesn't have, just at the end of the day. And that's not a slight at Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis makes up for it with skill and with balance and with some of the things that Jaden Ivey doesn't have yet. But I think it's easier to learn what Johnny Davis has than to be born with what Jaden Ivey has at the end of the day. Defensively with Jaden, it's so hard because like that team's pick and roll defense is just so like it puts so much pressure on the guards because of how deep of a drop they have to play with Edey and Trevion Williams. Like it's almost like it's going to be nothing. It's going to be almost nothing like what he will be asked to do in the NBA. It's going to be somewhat similar. Like he'll play in a drop scheme. He'll have the, time or whatever. Like he'll have the reps that he's gone through at Purdue that will probably help him. But like, he's not going to be asked to cover for Zach Edey and Trevion Williams in the NBA. Like there's just so few lumbering bigs like that.
Right. But we talked about if he played, I don't think he will, because I don't think the pick is going to be this high. But you play with a guy like Joel Embiid, who has to drop back, who's a bigger center, Jokic. Those guys are dropping back. You have to figure out. And there's a clip circulating this week of Jabari Smith on the ball and like just slithering around a ball screen. Like you're not hitting with this. Jaden Ivey can get hit and crack, and then it's like, all right, it's kind of 2-on-1, like he's out of it. He's got to find a way to fight through that. And then off the ball too, he gets in a stance on the ball. He's ready to make a play. It reverses, stands right up. He's looking around. He's active. But then when the action comes back, he's getting down back in his stance. He's getting cracked by another screen. It's like if he just stayed in that a little bit longer, he'd set him up better positionally to not be hampered or hit with an off screen and then trying to fight around it. It's a double into a ball screen, and that's where it hangs up. He's going to work at it. That's a part of his game that he needs to really fix. But we're talking about, are these guys good enough? We just spent 20 minutes talking about how good they are, and that's why I think they're both really good options in the top 5. Like I don't have a problem with these guys like a lot of other people do.
I think they're both really good options in the top 10. I think is what I would say.
You know what? But I've said I say this. It seems like we've done this 3 years now. If they're not in the top 5, who is? Like it's not. Like,
no, I know.
They almost they almost have to be, and I'd be okay with either. And currently a slight edge, and not to go hipster, slight edge to Johnny Davis for me. It's very fluid. I'm not saying to write it in a Sharpie and put it on the big board yet, but there's still a lot of basketball to be played. I think there's more of a chance that Johnny makes it based on everything that he does, rather than saying, well, Jaden Ivey has to figure out the off-ball defense. You really have to figure out pick and roll progression. Johnny Davis, it's like, does he create enough separation to get off a shot that already looks good, that's already good off the bounce? That's the difference for me.
Yeah, I would go Jaden. because I think that the ceiling is just much higher.
It
Like the
is. It
skills,
is.
and I kind
Yeah.
of said this earlier, but the skills that Jaden has are skills that Johnny Day or like are talents and tools and gifts that Johnny Davis just won't have, right? Just athletically and in terms of burst and twitch and all that stuff. It's not a guarantee though. Like
Mhm.
Jaden needs to take time. He needs to hone in on the skill set, needs to hone in on slowing down, jump stopping at times, running through ball screen progressions. Like it's just going to take some time, but the tools are so special, I think, with Jaden. Like they just are. I do want to play a game here before we go to our commercial
Oh
break.
boy.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the guards that were taken from 2019 to 2015, let's say, would you take
Oh,
Johnny Davis slash
oh,
Jaden
hold on.
Ivey
Before
or
you even say the answer of the college guy, am I talking just what they did in college, not what I know
just
about
what
what they
they
did
did
in
in
NBA? Okay.
college, prep
Okay.
school, prep, whatever,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
As prospects.
Okay.
Johnny Davis, Jaden Ivey, or Darius Garland.
I would take Jaden Ivey and Johnny Davis. Darius Garland was hurt. It was kind of like,
Yep.
is he or isn't he? So I take those guys.
Yeah.
And Darius Garland's been
I
good
think
in the NBA. If I cheated and said I know he's a borderline all-star type guy every year, then the answer is Garland. But at the time, I'd take Davis and Ivey.
yeah. For what it's worth, I think I would too on that one. Trae Young went 5th overall in 2018. I would imagine you would have taken Trae Young.
Yeah. The answer is yes, but I'd do my homework and due diligence because I thought he was too small to play the game that he has.
Yep.
Again, another all-star averaging crazy numbers, but I'm not trying to be revisionist here.
I would have taken both of those guys over Colin Sexton.
Yep.
I'll say that, but I
Today,
would not have taken
then,
both of
and
them
now, yes.
De'Aaron Fox or Jaden Ivey slash Johnny Davis.
Swipe. I'd probably at the time say De'Aaron Fox.
Okay, I think that I would rank them,
But
Ivy, Fox, Davis. Like I think that they're all in the same tier, basically.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Chris Dunn or Johnny Davis
that's
slash
heartstrings. That's New England.
I know.
I wouldn't take those guys. Though I was hollering for the Celtics to take a guard, to take Jamal Murray, Buddy Hield, or Chris Dunn.
Right.
I think Jaden Ivey and Johnny Davis were more kind of Celtics-y type picks.
D'Angelo Russell or these guys.
These guys. I know he's great at Ohio State. He was never really quite my cup of tea as a college player.
Yeah, I probably would have taken D'Angelo. So
I'll
be honest.
That's how your alma mater returns back on you. You can't take the other guys.
As I wear a Pitt hoodie today.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go.